Kiki, welcome to Early Days.
Thank you.
I spend my whole life chasing you. When will you come home to me?
So I wanted to have you on this podcast because I wanted to find out more about just your journey. I know you just recently graduated, and so you have the whole world in front of you. Um, can you tell us like what got you into coding and building um and then we can get into all the Bitcoin stuff later. But yeah.
Okay. Well, I come from a different background of being kind of a yogi, artist, dog trainer, and in 2021, early that winter, I started helping an artist collective with their operations, and they had a lot of tech there. So I got to learn about VR, I got to learn about Blender and 3D modeling, and they were actually building a game there as well. So it all sort of opened up in my mind what was possible as far as committing one's life purpose to. And I started to explore because I was really excited by virtual reality as a form of self expression. And I found that you could go into game design as a career. So I love the idea of collaboration and creativity and play as learning. So I immediately went into school for like one semester for virtual reality, and that put me in the same classroom as other game design students. And I fell in love with the Unreal Engine. I fell in love with development. And the summer before I started school is when Christopher from Open Agents and my husband, shout out to him, he's awesome. He took me to my first Bitcoin hackathon, and I loved it. It was PlebFi in Austin in 2021, and we won, I think, third place. But it was really enlivening to be around a bunch of people who were focused towards not just building something that they're passionate about, but building towards the future that they all believe in. Like, that's huge. Not only it's, I'll leave it at that.
No, that's amazing. So yeah, let's talk about more about that collective that you're around. Um, can you describe to people that are unfamiliar with the AR and the VR and kind of how that process of building on that as opposed to something that's a little two dimensional? Like, is it the same type of tool set? Is it completely different? Does it make you have to look at it a different way as opposed to something else? Can you expand on that a little bit?
Okay. Yeah. So AR is augmented reality, VR is virtual reality, MR is mixed reality, and XR is kind of all of them. So virtual reality is when you have a 3D world that you go into, and usually you experience it through a headset. In in my personal opinion, that might be wrong to some people. I think this is virtual reality. We're in a virtual world. We're interacting with each other. But generally, it's like a 3D world that you're immersed in that you experience through a headset. And augmented reality is when you experience the real world with a virtual layer over it. And that's just like a visual thing. So I might get my phone and look at my table and through my phone see that there's the Pokemon, right? Like Pokemon Go. Or I might see that I left an overlay over my notebook. So that's augmented reality, but I can't interact with it. Mixed reality, sorry, yes, mixed reality is when I can interact with it. And that's when you get the glasses or the phone view that I can start to click on stuff. I can move things around. And you can actually code all of that in the same environment that you would for 2D stuff. So you're in VS Code or any editor of your choice. And you can also go into tools like the Unreal Engine and other engines. I'm just an Unreal Engine maxi. So I like that environment. I think they're very professional people, very professional developers, and there's best practices in each thing. There's different people building different VR tools. Like there's different people building different Bitcoin tools. Um, so yeah,
Where
VR.
do you where do you think this is all going? Because when you say those four different things, or three different things, or wait, no, four different things. Yeah. So it's XR, VR,
MR.
MR, and then AR.
Yeah.
Yeah, four different things. So when you say these things, where do you think this development is happening the most on? Is it a mixture of all of them, or do you see some people gravitate towards one thing more than the other, or do you think it's just going to take some time? I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like, where do you see this is all going?
Okay. I think it's all fun. You can use these tools right now, and brands use these tools for different promotional activities. And you might read sci-fi novels that'll show you the more functional use cases of things. But I saw that there was an idea right now of like how can VR specifically move from just being a toy to tool in the real world outside of enterprise. And some people think it doesn't need to, but I think it's all going to be interconnected to where right now the virtual reality people are in virtual reality. They're not really in a lot of other places unless they're trying to promote people to go to virtual reality. And that's, you can see sort of these pockets. And what I want to see is through Nostr, having the data be found across clients, across realities. And that's why I think Cozy and CozyBot, I decided to shorten the name from CozyBot to Cozy, a little bit more memorable. That's why I think my project is through Nostr and Bitcoin going to make data more accessible to everyone and in an intuitive way that makes sense to me. But when I talk to people about it, it takes some explaining. But the direction I see this extended reality world going is just interwoven with our world in a nonchalant way. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. And I think if you just need to find something, you go to what's on hand. You don't need to be a format maxi. If you need to find a tool and all you have access to is a voice assistant, then that's how you get your data. If you need to do something and you're at your computer, it's at your computer. If you're on your phone and you need to go to a project or talk to someone or ask your AI agent to do a task for you, they're not going to be limited by the environment it's built.
Okay, so just to reiterate back, so it sounds like you see this world where we're all just interacting with these different experiences that it kind of extend the normal reality in a different way, and this can be in a different way for however you're interacting with it at that time. So like if you're out, on the weekend, maybe have some AR glasses or
Yeah,
MR glasses, and
that's
then that's how
exciting to me.
yeah, and then that's how you're interacting with it. But then like during the work week, maybe you're right there on your laptop, with a headset or something, which is completely different.
Yeah.
Okay, so that I can see where you're coming from. Do you think there is one particular um do you think there's one particular kind of lane that will go a lot that will happen faster? Will it be VR? Will it be AR? I think Apple thinks it's going to be AR, and then Meta thinks it's going to be VR. Do you see anything just on the ground and talking to people that are in your group or
I
collective?
think there's always going to be fluctuations depending on what's exciting on what platform. I think there need to be this kind of discourse for it to stay important as opposed to like VR exists and then it's forgotten about. But I think it's going to get to a place where we're not even thinking about it. Um, where it's not just VR, it's not just AR. I think the world is really huge, and sometimes you want to go to a traditional art gallery, and sometimes you want to go to Meow Wolf.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, so let's talk about what you're building Cozy now. It's called Cozy with COZY. And yeah, just kind of give us a high level and then yeah, go from there. Yeah.
So Cozy is a game that feels like Tamagotchi, Neopets, Webkins. It gives you an agent that you care for, that you customize, like when you're in the Sims or when you're playing Animal Crossing. There's a new Hobbit cozy game that just came out that you just customize your Hobbit hole. But Cozy is about giving everyone access to an agent that has real world powers, that is built for them, that is fun, intuitive, player centric, and is leveraging Bitcoin and Nostr.
Okay. And what can you do inside of Cozy?
The first spec or user journey that I'm focusing on is being able to just tell my phone or my app, um, Cozy, buy a pencil and send it to my friend. And my agent will look through Nostr information to find a pencil for sale, maybe on Shopster. Shout out to Shopster. And confirm with me that it's the one I want to get, do a Bitcoin transaction with that account's agent's wallet, and send me a little receipt.
That's amazing. So technically, you'll have a wallet with sats already in there, and then it'll just make the transaction. Is that how you're picturing it?
So my 4 points for my milestone one by February 8th is an agent per user, a wallet per agent, and agent to agent transaction. Stretch goal, agent does a Nostr search.
Oh, that'd be dope. So you're trying. So for people that are like, so people that are listening at home, so it sounds like it's just a machine to machine payment, um, thing that's happening behind the scenes, which is kind of cool. Which is what we've been talking about for since like 2015 in the Bitcoin space, like machine to machine payments. So
And search. No more
and
looking
search.
through Amazon. What do you want? I don't know. I spend 45 minutes on there when I just meant to get one thing. I don't know about you. And also,
Yeah.
this is meant to be for non technical users first.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, okay, so kind of walk us through your vision for what the build will eventually do. Obviously you're going to progress through top builder and all that stuff, but let's say 12, 18 months out, what do you hope to accomplish it? Like what do you hope that it becomes?
Well, ultimately, we can come back to that. But 12, 18 months, I hope to have a team of designers, storytellers, um, modelers, technical designers. But it just depends on the energy that goes into it. So I'll just build to what goes into it. So if I win top builder, then a certain percent will go towards saving for forever. A certain amount will go towards marketing. A certain amount will go towards building a team. And you can imagine with winning top builder, maybe a team of 3 to 5 people in 12 to 18 months, making a little game where you have your AI agent, you can customize them to have different names, different outfits, different data sets, a rich in-game economy, very beta though, very cutesy. I definitely see someone going into their phone and seeing that their agent is in Bitcoin Village. It won't be Bitcoin themed. The Bitcoin information will be interspersed into the experience in a way that you don't think about it, but you're learning how important Bitcoin is. But anyways, the experience will be you're playing a game. And if you need something, you're asking your agent to do it for you. For example, I just learned that my agent won 50 sats playing a racing game because we've been building its racing stats. Or it just won 300 sats in a debate about writing letters in journals versus writing letters virtually. Who knows? People have different things they want to discuss. But anyways, you find out your agent just did that. And then you're like, you ask your agent really quickly, can you build me a PowerPoint about this idea that I just had? And it's like, okay, tell me about your idea. And then it sends you that document. Or it just sends it to Canva, where you might already have a template for different brands that you have there. Right now on Canva, you can, never mind.
No, tell me what can you do?
Right now on Canva, you can use AI to put data into already made designs. And when you're making new promotional material, you're spending a lot more time making the material. But then once you have it, it takes you 5 minutes to put the data in, to put the information into the boxes. And it has a tool that lets you just input a bunch of content and it'll automatically do that for you. So if there's a API that connects to CozyBot and you tell CozyBot, hey, make a PowerPoint about the last stuff we've been talking about for 2 weeks because it remembers stuff about you, then I'll just be able to use that information, put it into a brand template already there, and you have that.
Oh, that sounds amazing. So it sounds like you'll be able to at some point this Tamagotchi like friend here, agent, will be able just to start earning sats doing its task. Maybe you give it for the week or something.
But also making sats through games or jobs for other people.
Do you think we'll have? I like Tamagotchi better than agent.
Okay.
Do you think we'll each have our own Tamagotchi out there?
I think we'll have several Tamagotchis. I think you have to earn them. I think you need to maybe have relationships to where you want to, maybe your Tamagotchi is really good at X and someone else's Tamagotchi is really good at Y, so then you make a baby Z Tamagotchi.
So it kind of like it kind of like where it yeah, like these two virtual pets become um almost like lifelike as opposed yeah, as almost like lifelike where they're just doing these different things and then um maybe you can sell your virtual pets and then I don't know.
Well, I
I,
think everything mirrors life in a way, but it creates a really great system for um, maybe prioritizing data. If we lived forever, we would have like way too much in our heads. But if we condense what's important and we pass information down, let go of what doesn't work, then that's a good way to sort of systematically grow. Um, what was the last thing you said? I had a
yeah,
thought.
yeah. So do you think is there other people building similar things, Kiki, or is it something that obviously you have a very creative brain since I've known you. Is it something that you're kind of putting together? Um, yeah. Just talk about the vision for it.
Well, I've seen people put AI into games as part of the game. That's just how like the enemy works in a shooter. You make an AI for that. I've seen people put AI into MMORPGs so that you have kind of like a little helper chopping down trees for you. And I think the closest thing to what I'm building is people who are already building robots, but they're not starting where I think it matters, which is building for people. I think they're starting with this is how it moves around, this is how it lifts stuff, but it doesn't really have an awareness of the world. I think there's definitely a conversation about robots learning in simulated environments about a physics environment. Um, but I think I'm going to start with the social skills, the soft skills, and the interaction between what a robot should do for you in the virtual world. Because if you see a physical robot, you might say that's cool, but can it pay for a bounty on Lightning Bounty? It probably can't. But if we start with the brain and the tools and the user experience, then I think we'll get a lot further with actually having a relationship to consumers, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Yeah, I like that picture. Yeah, it definitely seems like you're coming from it from a very like first principles type of uh, approach. Do you think there's this growing? I don't know. It definitely feels like for me this cycle might. I mean, obviously, every cycle is different, but this cycle kind of feels like there's a lot more new. Like maybe it's because of Nostr, maybe it's because of Lightning, and it's just like proliferation of like everything. But do you think do you see this kind of new tech emerging in the Bitcoin space like ever before? I don't remember there being this sort of kind of like creative kind of tech coming to Bitcoin, but it does feel like that now.
I have to admit, I've been kind of locked in. I'm I'm with my 7 month baby Atlas, and I still have a lot of people to meet and a lot of projects to get familiar with. I think if it feels like there's a lot more innovation happening, I think it's been brewing. I think ever since Snowpocalypse of 22 or 21, we've been exposed to new ideas, and it's taken time to develop those, at least for me, and then to make those connections, to sort of validate that they're worth spending time and energy on, and then coming out into the world and finding other people who are like-minded, both in values and in interests. Sometimes those things don't go together. So it's just taking some time to find each other and
No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, because we have like Oliver inside of Club Lab, he's building like this AR games slash rewards education system, and it definitely does feel like there's this like new wave of innovation happening. Like you said, maybe it has been percolating around us here in Austin, but it's really cool to see. I find it fascinating. I'm just always just like drawn to new and creative things. It is there was there something in your path like throughout life that you think that you can attribute to looking at the world maybe a little bit differently than maybe your other peers and or maybe your friends?
well, I'm from Venezuela. I don't know if you knew that about me. I was born in Maracaibo, and I grew up between the countries often. Like every 4 years or 2 years or 1 year or 6 years, I would just go back and forth because family was on both sides. And I had a grass is greener sort of mindset where when I was there, I wanted to be here. When I was here, I wanted to be there. But ultimately, I always knew that it was terribly unsafe there. I always knew that the government was a scam. I always knew that the money was gonna like devalue a million times the next time I went there. And it was really hilarious, like buying empanadas with a lot of bolivar. I even remember now. There were a lot of zeros on those pieces of paper, but that's sort of disconnected me from the total belief and trust in everything around me. And then I feel like a lot of people have probably found yoga. A lot of people have found some sort of connection to their body and their mind that lets them create their own sense of self. And I think those two things together might make me who you know today.
Yeah, so tell us about Venezuela. I didn't know that about you. So when you heard about Bitcoin and you started using Bitcoin, did that just click almost immediately for
Oh
you?
yeah,
Was it?
I didn't
Yeah.
even hear it for very long. I was like, oh, these guys have a plan.
What did you find fascinating about the Bitcoiners when you did meet them?
Well, I think I officially met them at Pleb5, and like I said, I was really inspired by their vision, their legacy mindset, their low time preference. I think that's something that a lot of people don't have. Discipline and motivation and passion.
No, that answers it. I was curious what it was that stood out. Um, and just because it's always a hurdle for most people who are coming in. They don't understand why Bitcoiners are a certain way, why they're so passionate about it, and why they want to change things. But it seems like for you, growing up in Venezuela, definitely played a part in you understanding that almost immediately.
Yep. That's why I just sat through hours and hours of technical conversations. I didn't have any clue what was going on. And I was like, this feels right. I like being here.
Do you think that as far as like the Lightning tech and the Nostr tech that's been kind of developing over the past couple of years, I mean, pretty much during the bear market, um, do you think it's at a point now to where anybody like yourself or anybody else could come in without prior experience building on Bitcoin and be able to find their path with whatever creative agency they were using?
Totally. I think it's the future, and there's still so much room for different ways to bring value in different parts of society, and it's important that we all do. I think if there's any way to bridge the understanding from regular person confused about what to do next as their money is being devalued to someone who is confidently selling steaks at the right price for sats, um, then there's definitely room for everyone, and it needs to happen, is my line. So that's the line.
No, that makes sense.
I don't want to get too spacey or anything.
Yeah. Where um where can people start testing out Cozy if they wanted to start testing it out? Or is it not ready just yet?
Oh, we're not ready. We started this project just in the concept phase, and I had just worked it out for about 5 weeks with different mentors. And just this last first milestone, it's only been like 1 week. I got the project up and working on the right computer, and I have my 3DS environment working. We're gonna do Expo with React Native because that is compatible with iOS and Android and web. So that's going to be able to be everywhere. I'm really passionate about 3JS, and I did some work with that about a year or two ago. And that's just like a 3D development language, similar to like Unreal, but it's for the web mobile experiences.
Can you talk about that? Because I was trying to use Blender over the weekend because I was trying to make an intro for this podcast and had so many problems with it. Can you talk about why dumb people like me can't figure out some of these like 3D uh, tooling? Has it gotten easier using some other tooling, or do you think there's just not enough like documentation out there for people to pick it up, or is it something you have to go to school for? I don't know.
That's a really great question. I have also spent many hours and hours and hours just trying to build one donut in Blender, the famous Blender donut. And there are people who have specialized in it, and it does take a lot of consistency and passion and like meticulous. What does this button do? What does that button do? It takes a lot of connection. But as far as easier tools, I just found out about something that's for the web that people are going crazy about. It's called WOMP 3D, WOMP 3D. It's You can just go to a browser and start using it, and it's supposed to be like very intuitive where you don't need to spend probably months learning it. But if you have friends in 3D, they'll probably help you. But it's definitely, Blender is a skill that I would develop if you want to keep making things in Blender. It's not something that I would use for like a 1 or 2 time project, because then I would probably just want to talk to a 3D modeler who's better at it than me.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think I gave up almost immediately after about 30 minutes. It's like, okay, I'm good. I was like, let me figure out another way to do it. And I ended up using just my old way of doing things, just like mixing a lot of different like real world stuff with like AI stuff and then some Canvas stuff. And then before you know it, it was like there.
And I bet it
Um,
feels like you and it feels fulfilling.
yeah, it does. I mean, because it was one of those things where I realized I was like, yeah, I guess I just like mixing a lot of different components together. What talk about the Unreal Engine, because that's something I feel like that was a game I was playing at some point. And why has it standed the test of time for people that don't know, that have just consumed it as a player?
So they had the Unreal Tournament game. I guess that did really well because they built an engine that they started to sell and create a lot of community around. And it's not something that it has just too much hype and doesn't show up. It has the most advanced capabilities where you can make cinema level experiences for free on your computer. And they use it for The Mandalorian, I'm pretty sure. But if they didn't, then what it's called when you use Unreal Engine to make cinematic experiences is virtual production, and a lot of times that involves like connecting it to the system to a camera and having an LED screen, and that solves a lot of problems that comes up with like green screen. Um, the Unreal Engine is a 3D engine that has included a lot of tools and systems that are commonly used in game development. So there's something called sequencer, where I can tell it to, in a sequence like a movie or video editing, at this time, make that laptop open and close using the open and close function, and make the windows start to move. So the world can come alive for this cinematic experience. And it also has made programming a little bit easier with visual programming called blueprints. They also still do use C++, and there are alternatives that are, people say they're easier to use, like Unity. I don't think so. And I just really, I appreciate that there is this lore that Unreal Engine is more difficult to learn, because it kind of attracts people who are committed to the best. I'm going to do the best, even if it's hard, and I'm going to see amazing results because of it, to the point where I can just participate in that ecology of creators.
No, that makes sense. So you're saying there's just so much out there as far as like being able to leverage it as a tool set, um, and then it just visually is compelling.
You can make visually compelling experiences with.
And for Cozy, how are you planning to use the Unreal Engine? Would it be the world that the Tamagotchi-like character lives in, or
I'm definitely going to have a 3D world for Cozy that the Tamagotchi lives in. I'm going to explore when it comes to the point of like scaling, whether it makes sense to stay with 3JS or whether to use pixel streaming with Unreal Engine, where you build the game, you have a server use it, and then it just kind of streams. Most video games are like that nowadays. But for the purpose of this demo and this experience, top builder experience, and sort of validating the idea, 3JS, I know it'll work.
no? That makes sense. In school, when you were in school learning this stuff, did you have like a project that you had to complete or that you had to create using some of these tools? And if so,
You
what
wouldn't
what was
believe
it?
it.
Yeah.
The program I was in was game design major at University of Advancing Technology. They're in Phoenix, and they have an online program that let me be a student while I moved to New York. We tried going to Iowa. We went everywhere, up and down and all around, and I got to be an online student because um, the way that they do it, they do classes 5 weeks at a time and one at a time. So instead of taking a whole semester of 3 to 4 classes, it's one class for 5 weeks. And I had to basically take a gameplay programming class and in 5 weeks, build a level, build a game, or sometimes 2 or 3 levels or 2 or 3 games. And it was just very constant. And that's the main reason why I'm doing Top Builder right now, is as opposed to maybe waiting for the next one, is I couldn't imagine life without a deadline. I was doing my classes in the evenings when the baby was asleep, and all weekend. Chris takes care of the baby, and I get to work all weekend. And when the baby naps and I'm holding him, that's when he works on weekend. So that's what school was like. And it was really great because the classes were live. So basically asynchronous. I didn't have to be there for the lives, but I could. The teacher was always very, very fun. I had different teachers, but there were a top two that were particularly fun to work with and knowledgeable and wise, and didn't get distracted by trying to be too cool for the other students.
That's cool. And did you see some really cool stuff being built by your classmates? Were y'all able to share kind of
Yeah,
what
it
y'all were
was
building?
all through the portal. And I have to say that's maybe one of my biggest regrets is not having the space to look at every student's individual contributions to every project because I've been expecting and been a new mom and so on. But I did have the opportunity to watch other people's pitches, watch other people make board games, make video games on Unreal, or we made a lot of text adventures too. Um, that was fun, but I'll stop there.
No, that's cool. That sounds amazing. I wish we had something like that. But it sounds like anybody could join a class similar. Did they have any other ones outside of like the gaming stuff?
They're all technology related. So University of Advanced Technology has classes about like robotics and cybersecurity. If you go to the campus, there's like a whole cybersecurity room kind of decked out. You feel like you're in a hacker movie. I've never been, and I'm so sad. But I'm sure I'll go back. Maybe I'll be a teacher there one day when I'm old.
Yeah, that's cool. Um, yeah, so it sounds like for the most part you were able to take what you learned there, the disciplines, the tool sets, all that kind of stuff, and then start building something like Cozy. Um, do you think there is a possibility of you starting a company one day? I know your husband is doing his own company, but do you think that is in your future, or is it too
Totally.
soon?
A
Yeah.
thousand
Oh,
percent.
wow. Okay. Wow.
I don't
Really?
know about like today, but yes, I've been a business owner of a dog training business. I've always been entrepreneurial in general. Um, my number one like big passion is being a mom, so that goes first. But I'm a very capable person, so I can do a lot of things at the same time. But as far as starting a company, I want to start a lot of companies. I want to go through all of my ideas that I haven't had time for mentorship in, and just start at the bottom, see where I can start, and keep growing.
That's cool. So the first one is potentially Cozy.
Potentially cozy if it goes
Potentially.
well.
Yeah. Cool.
It needs to
Uh,
exist, whether it's me or someone else that builds it. I think it needs to happen.
I mean, the picture you painted, that would be kind of cool. You just tell your Tamagotchi what to do. He goes earn sats on Snacker News, comes back and delivers your whatever to your door. I don't know.
Yeah.
It sounds like
Well,
a
imagine
fun.
I told my Tamagotchi get Cart's last Uber Eats order, and it sends you like some beef jerky chips.
That makes sense. You know what would be really cool too? Like if it, like let's say it got to know you and you told it where it could earn sats, so it could start farming sats, and then it could then use those sats to then purchase a gift card, and then it doesn't require you to do anything. So it's just basically kind of like those games that we used to play growing up, or at least the ones that I used to play growing up, where it was just like farming all day, and then you would have the satisfaction to see that, oh wow, it happened
My
over the
crops
course
grew.
of, yeah, exactly.
Exactly. That's what I want it to feel like. 1,000%.
Yeah, it's very unique. That's a very unique vision for it. Yeah, no wonder. Yeah, I don't think there's anybody building anything like that I've heard of. That would be cool. Because potentially, like, I mean, because potentially, like, let's say hypothetically, I have like all these articles that I wrote on Thriller or whatever, right? And it could source all that information, so it knows me pretty well at that point. Then it could create like an article on Stacker News or something, or I don't know, on Nostr that gets a couple's apps. Um,
It could.
and yeah, and then no one would know the wiser, I guess,
Well,
or
but you
maybe
could
that's
also
the whole
just say
point.
my agent wrote this, and people would say, okay, this is his agent. Or you could say this is actually a piece that I sat down with my time and like stirred my tea and wrote it, and you can say this was written by me. Or you can say this was written by my agent, who knows me, and you don't have an agent like me, so it's valuable.
Or it could just be its own like persona, and everybody knows, oh, that's Carr's agent that's doing
Yeah.
his biddings or whatever. No, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. Yeah. That's an interesting world. That's a very interesting world. Um, do you think you ever get into the hardware stuff? Do you think you ever design for like a video game system or like a or or do you think you'll just stay on the web and on laptops and stuff like that and the phone?
Are you asking about hardware?
Like you know how we have our phones, our laptops and stuff like that. Do you think you ever design a game for like a I don't know, like the Nintendo Switch
Oh, okay.
or console or something like that?
That sounds fun. I think if the opportunity came up, I'd be all up on it. But I thought you were asking about like building robots.
Oh, like actual robots.
Yeah.
Have you thought of that?
Yeah. So I
Really?
haven't had a lot of time these last few years, but the little time that I had for my last birthday, I insisted that we get a little Raspberry Pi, a stack of magazines about Arduino, and I joined a project at school that they said was for a robot, but ended up just being a stick in the ground in a farm. And I was sending all these articles about like moving robots with arms, and the team was like, "That's cool. I think we just need a stick with these sensors on top, and we'll call it a robot." And I was like, "Okay, that's fine, I guess."
What was the robot doing? Was it just you said a stick in the ground or what was it
It
doing?
was taking humidity, a lot of different data from a farmer's crop area to know whether or not to water and how much. Just good data for a farmer to have. Very
Okay.
innovative.
Okay. And then it could was it referencing some sort of place that it was grabbing that data from, or was just grabbing what was going on there at the scene?
They're at the seat because the farmer would need to know,
Mm.
is there a tornado coming?
Interesting. So basically you say that you would look into something robotic at
Yeah,
some point.
I'm excited about robotics generally, but the kind that are cool. Not the kind that you're like, oh, that's technically a robot.
So the ones that just do its own thing, basically.
Yes, and then maybe have like fun bodies. Like I'm not even too excited about humanoid robots. I really like the ones that look like little crabs or the ones that zoom around.
So the Star Wars version of robots.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's how I would want my robot too. Like a not like a C3PO, more like an R2D2. You
But if
know?
you want to have a C3PO, there's someone who has made a C3PO, I think, that
Oh,
works.
really? Like an actual robot?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Wow. Yeah, that's yeah, I could totally see the robot stuff happening really fast. Especially if you throw like an agent in there or something. You could probably
That's
adopt
what
your
I
own
want to be. I
agent.
want to be
Yeah.
mother of robots. Yes, I want to be mother of robots.
Yeah. Do you remember when that man, it was a fast selling robot. It was the Star Wars one. There was like a not the one with the ball. What's the name of the robot with the ball? Gosh, what was his name?
I know the orange one.
The
He's
orange
so
one, yeah.
cute. He's new Star Wars.
BB-8. Yeah, BB-8.
Yeah.
I feel like there was one that sold and everybody was buying it, and then it was just like running across the floor. Do you remember that?
I
Do you
haven't
remember
seen
that?
that in person. It sounds adorable.
It was. It just we would just kind of run around the floor and you would be able to use it. But
I think that's an
um,
important thing to have. You have a cat, you have a dog, you have a BB-8.
no, totally. It would be cool though if they talked to you and they did things.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, that would be really cool.
I think
Hmm.
BB-8's purpose was to fix the fighter plane.
Yeah, we'll
Right?
just need him. We'll just need to change his operating system to fix the money, and then he
Fix
can
the
fix the
money,
world.
fix the world.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, um, yeah, I think I've asked you enough crazy questions. Is there anything else that you wanted to bring up that you feel that is either not said or not brought up very much in podcasts or anything like that, or anything else you want to touch on before I take up too much of your time?
Well, I really appreciate you, Car. I
Ah,
think everyone should be kind to their podcast hosts. That's my
yeah,
message.
that's your message.
Yes.
All right, cool. And then where can people find you, Kiki, if they want to contact you, or if they want to collaborate or get creative?
Well, if you know where the top builder repo is with the Top Builder Season 2. I'm in the issues, Cozy Bot, now Cozy, issue number 13. I'm also on X, Kiki Designs Fun. I haven't been able to find myself just by username on Nostr clients, but you can try.
Okay. Yeah, if you send me your MPub, I can link it in the show notes.
Sweet.
Cool.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
no problem.
Happy learning.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions or anything like that, want to reach out to Kiki. She's a lot of fun and somebody to talk to, and it sounds like building the future.